Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Messina Morris. I am the founder and CEO of Metaverse United and the founder of M.O.M Metaversity on school. I am also a professor at Morehouse College, where I am the director of Metaverse programs. So I wanted to talk to you a bit about the panel that I just did for Gatherverse. It's the Tech for Humanity Summit North America, and my conversation was about care intelligence, and it was moderated by Mr. Christopher Lafayette. And so I want to do a wrap up to this conversation and just give some final words. It was a roundtable panel. The title was Care Intelligence, Wellbeing, Mindfulness, and Prosperity in Times of Acceleration. It was moderated again by Christopher Lafayette, who is the founder of Gatherverse. Mel Selick was there, Cara Peterson, Dr. Kiana Bradshaw, myself, Emily Wright, and it was such a good conversation. The questions that they asked was about the redefinition of care intelligence in the age of acceleration. And for me, at Morehouse University, I have to embed digital empathy into avatar interactions so that students actually feel seen, safe, and supported. We are no longer designing technology for humans, but with humans. And so in the metaverse and AI ecosystems, care is actually a design principle. It's not an afterthought. We must integrate care intelligence into emerging tech policy frameworks so that empathy actually scales with innovation. And I think Cara actually mentioned that about empathy scaling and what that means. So when we think about mindfulness in a digitally accelerated society, what we need to know is that AI is here. Acceleration is actually inevitable, but awareness is intentional. And so we have to teach these practices. In my courses that I do with Metaverse United for STEM fellows and for high school students, and even in my other classrooms when I was teaching chemistry, metacognitive strategies and mindfulness was always a part of how we began class. It's important when you're doing complex work with technology and chemistry that you actually teach self-awareness, that you teach these pause practices, that you allow students the opportunity to shift, to reflect, to not go into sensory overloads, but to kind of create these digital Sabbath experiences for students. Mindfulness is a 21st century skill alongside collaboration and creativity, as well as compassion. So when we think about well-being, how can we use this as the new measure of prosperity? Prosperity in the times of acceleration should be measured in belonging and not bandwidth. Digital well-being is akin to emotional regulation plus ethical algorithms plus an inclusive infrastructure. I use HoloTutor AI, which is our AI teaching assistance with our EdTech partners, Victory XR. And we include neurodiversity sensitive dialogues in our design to prevent cognitive overload and to improve student confidence. I advocate heavily, especially in the autistic community, because I'm a mom to sons who have autism, for algorithmic compassion, models that actually adapt to human pace as well as human pain. So I had a conversation that I was able to have at ASU GSV, where I talked and taught educators from all over the world about how to create their own AI teaching assistants. And the one thing that I do is make sure that inclusion and access is always a part of the design. We need to design for neurodivergent flourishing. Diversity is innovation. We cannot exclude people regardless of what their disability, inability, ineptness, or lack of neurotypicalness is. I know that's not even a term, but I mean, I'm a neurodivergent human who has struggled a lot with emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, because I also have a genius factor. And so trying to make sure that I am including parents and children of twice exceptional children like me, or neurodivergent individuals with different learning needs and disabilities into these conversations. It's very necessary. Technology should meet users where they are and not force them to mask themselves to fit into it. And so it's important that we get to a place where we're developing programs for immersive modules that change and accommodate our neurodivergent learners. The ethics of acceleration needs to be discussed. Do we slow down to scale right? Is that what we need to do? Because sustainability in tech is not just environmental, but it's emotional. And so how can we advocate for like tech Sabbath cycles? How can we intentionally slow these innovation periods for reflection and recalibration? Because sometimes you can go faster by going slower. And so we know that as human beings, sometimes that continuing to have output leads to burnout because we are human. And so I want to make sure that we are grounded in the way that we bring forth these technologies. How do we have collective prosperity through community design, where well-being scales through community and not just code? How can we reframe the user experience as humanness, a human community being built? Because when we gather well, we actually heal faster. And so I want you to think about, just in your own minds, do you audit your tech? Do you ask yourself questions about these tools? Do they create care or do they consume it? Are you designing these tasks mindfully? Are you including mental breaks in your applications or your learning modules? Are you using empathy in your algorithms? Are you using representative training data for neurodivergent users? Are you really measuring the impact by joy, engagement, and mental clarity and not just output? So are you using human-centered metrics? How are you collaborating across differences? Are you inviting voices from education, from wellness, as well as tech to co-design solutions? Because in the times of acceleration, care is the new currency and empathy is the engine of innovation. That is really super important. I'm going to say that again. In times of acceleration, care is the new currency and empathy is the engine of innovation. And so when we think about what care intelligence actually is, it is a fusion of empathy, ethics, and evidence, and how we build and how we live. It's not just artificial intelligence, it's actually attentive intelligence. So as technologists, as educators, we must design systems that see people and not just profiles. There is a human being behind that avatar. And so in my work with our AI teaching assistants through HoloTutor.ai, care intelligence shows up as algorithmic compassion, digital tools that help adapt to learners' cognitive as well as their emotional rhythms. They ask questions that lead them down another path of understanding to help close learning gaps. Leadership today means using power to humanize acceleration and not to weaponize it, because care intelligence is the act of coding compassion into the systems that shape our humanity. We need to understand that slowing down isn't stopping. When asked the question, how can we slow down to prioritize human well-being in a fast-paced world? We have to know that slowing down is not stopping. And for someone like myself, who's a workaholic, who likes to focus on one particular thing or can get really like blinders on when it comes to working, I have to realize that slowing down isn't stopping. It's actually synchronizing. We need what I call a tech Sabbath, intentional pauses in production to protect our peace. And at Morehouse Metaversity, as well as my One Metaversity school, we teach students to engage XR mindfully. We did meditation Mondays in the metaverse. We integrated digital reflection rooms, stretch breaks, and time buffers between immersive sessions, Because when we honor the human nervous system, innovation flows faster because it's grounded in clarity and not chaos. Very important. The third question that was asked is acceleration beneficial to financial, mental, and social well being, or vice versa? So, acceleration can amplify well being, but only when it is driven by purpose and not through panic. Financial acceleration without any emotional intelligence leads to burnout economies. One of the examples of this is social media. Social media led to creating a lot of young millionaires, a lot of young creators that actually then had an avenue to create wealth and to create community. And we also saw trolls. We also saw lack of digital empathy. We saw lack of etiquette. We saw a lot of psychological manipulation happening. We saw a lot of cyberbullying. And we have got to get to a place where we measure psychological prosperity alongside profit margin. So Mel talked about this because she is a psychologist and she is looking at AI, and she talked a lot about psychological well-being and safety. And so in this new AI economy, the next currency really isn't data. It's dignity. We can't afford to grow faster than our souls can actually handle. One of the other questions was, how can we assess the true cost of acceleration to human bodies and communities? This is challenging, but we must count what we've stopped feeling. Acceleration costs us sleep, presence, family time, and community cohesion. These are the soft metrics of humanity. These are metrics that no one is talking about. Okay? I see parents a lot that are overwhelmed because they have this constant adaptation fatigue. Those people who are in the workplace right now, same thing. They're trying to grow as fast as tech. It's not possible. We're human. And so we must design technology with recovery in mind, because we are going to tax the human nervous system, and it's going to lead to more burnout. We are not machines, and we can't rely on machines to teach us on how to be human. What is resilience in the face of constant technological disruption? I think resilience has always been seen as something kind of like, I can bounce back from all these hits. But in the way that this technology is moving, I think resilience can be reshaped or reframed to bending with grace. So in immersive education, resilience comes from cultivating metacognition, which is the awareness of how we think, feel, and learn amid change. And we must teach our students to co-regulate with technology and not compete with it, because it helps them build a certain level of digital endurance. So resilience is the ability to actually reboot your mind without losing your mission. What is the connection between care intelligence and long-term innovation sustainability? So sustainability is the byproduct of systems that care. AI and XR will only be sustainable if we design them with inclusion at their core. And at Metaverse United, we embed accessibility and neurodiversity protocols into our every innovation and every innovation cycle. Why? One, like I said, I'm an autism mom, but because technology that excludes cannot sustain itself ethically or economically, and care intelligence ensures innovation doesn't outrun its humanity. There are like 3 more questions that I wrote thoughts about, and I'm gonna finish them up. So the 7th question was, how can policy and governance encourage cultures of well-being without stifling innovation? So policies must move from regulation to an honoring of human life, almost a reverence, because the first form of intellectual property is us, we as creators, human beings. And so we need these ethical kind of acceleration acts that actually prioritize digital well-being, cognitive safety, and equitable AI literacy. Government and industry can co-create innovation ecosystems where rest, reflection, and representation are built in, not bolted on. Well-being frameworks must be reward systems, but not restrictions. And this is aligned with Biden's 2023 executive order on AI in education. And now, once we start mandating it, as President Trump has asked us to, which is a great thing, we need to make sure that we are building in well-being frameworks as educators and as people who care about humanity. Another thing that we need to do is ask the question, how can mindfulness-based prosperity redefine capitalism? Should we be redefining capitalism? And how? That's a question. I'm not going to touch it like I know it, but I am saying that we need to lead mindfully. Capitalism can actually be akin to care. And so when we have mindfulness-based prosperity shifts, like how much did we make to who did we become, it builds a certain level of conscious capitalism that is driven by empathy, inclusion, and impact. How can we harmonize productivity with the increasing need for rest and balance? I struggle with this. I struggled with this the last couple of days. We are on fall break, and so I don't have to work today or yesterday. I don't have to work. And so I've been trying to prioritize literal rest so that I can move through the second part of the semester with vigor and with enthusiasm. And so, even in my mind, I had to dismantle this myth that rest is unproductive because the body keeps the score. Regardless of what you think, your body is keeping score. And you might not think it now as a young 20-year-old or a teenager, but over time, your body, your mind, it keeps the score. And so rest is productive. When I'm doing anything in my school, in my labs, we actually talk about balance and having the bandwidth to balance. And what does it mean to alternate deep creativity with a reflective recovery? Now, I don't implement it well as I should, but I'm trying because I'm also a mom of 5. And so things get tough out here in these mom streets. But AI actually can augment rest by helping to automate repetitive tasks and freeing humans for creative flow, but also to be relational with one another, to be more productive. Not saying that productivity means more hours. It actually means that you're working more in harmony with these technological tools. The final question that was asked of us as a panel, we didn't get to all the questions, you never do. But what was asked in our pre-questions that I prepared for was, what is the biggest risk of neglecting care and well-being in the pursuit of wealth and acceleration? And the risk is truly dehumanization. When we ignore care, we actually create efficient emptiness, right? So if we ignore that we are human and we must be compassionate to one another, we literally create these efficiencies, but empty shells of what are humans. So machines will run perfectly, but people will fall apart. And if you neglect well-being, then you're going to go down a pathway of having an innovation without any inheritance. No legacy, no love, no life, no humanness, because humanity will lose its empathy quotient. And when that happens, not an algorithm in the world can save us. And so acceleration without affection is annihilation. I'm gonna say that again. Acceleration without affection, care, is annihilation. So technology, I want you to remember, will always accelerate. But we humans, we get to choose the temperature of our humanity. Human intelligence created artificial intelligence. And so care intelligence ensures that we stay warm in this world, speeding toward cold precision. We don't want to be that. We want to be more human. We want to be more digitally empathetic. We want to be more resilient and rooted in rest. We want to never neglect care, but to build efficient and not build efficient emptiness. In a world accelerating toward digital futures, the first step is empathy. Digital empathy is the cornerstone of care intelligence. It means seeing the human behind the avatar, the heart behind the data. It means designing technology that doesn't just react to users, but resonates with their lived experiences. And my journey in XR and AI has taught me that when we embed empathy into our digital tools, we're not just building technology, we're nurturing humanity. That's really important to me. So, thank you so much for letting me recap about our Care Intelligence panel today with Gatherverse Tech for Humanity Summit. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to get my final words and thoughts out. Thank you for following me. And I am going to give you a call to action. I am about to publish a number of works because I feel like these conversations aren't happening in a real way. And I would like your support. I would like your support on my Substack. I would like for you to go and subscribe to my Substack, Dr. Messina. I would like for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is under my name, Messina Holmes Morris. I would like for you to subscribe to my LinkedIn or connect with me. I would love for you to go to my school and sign up to be a member. It's free at skool.com/one metaversity. I would like for you to go subscribe on my website, Unite the Metaversity, unitethemetaverse.com, so that I can send you emails and updates and information that is going to be real time and really important as we continue to scaffold learning in this era of XR and AI. I would love to be able to be the educator that you know that is keeping you informed and to help you build the digital future in a way that is more human and more conducive to all of humanity. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for joining the Gatherverse panel. Don't forget to continue to chime in with Gatherverse and log in with them because they have hit every continent and they're hitting every single human that they can, making this a global mission to make sure that we all keep a humanity first approach to how we are interweaving these technologies. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak on behalf of my heart and to share what care intelligence means for me, because we have to be good global citizens. Thank you so much.